Hi everybody, Delmon Metha here, and thank you for once again joining me on my journey as I go through my favorites list on fanfiction.net. I hope everybody is still being safe and taking care of themselves and washing their hands very frequently while we deal with this quarantine stuff. And hey, since you're stuck in the house anyway and you obviously have access to a computer, why don't you check out some of the stories that I have on this list that I go through, or fanfiction's always been a great way to pass the time for me, and it's always a great way to get more out of stories that have finished and characters you want to spend more time with. So let's dive in, starting with Someday Maybe by EroSlackerMicha. And so this is the author's idea bin. Just here's a collection of ideas or prompts that he had, didn't progress very well or didn't go very far, and they're just here for your perusal. It's a bit different from others in some sense, mainly because these have a lot more story introduction than some of the others that I've seen. They're not just prompts, but it's more like the first and maybe the second chapter of a story combined. But because it's always it's the beginning of a story, you don't see the genesis or the actual meat of what makes the idea interesting, other than the base concept of it itself, which is why that's why it's different from a lot of the others, where a lot of the other ones they have an idea, but instead of doing the beginning intro of it, they'll write a climax scene or something like that, and something in the middle to really show off the differences. So this one is, again, like I said, just the beginnings of a bunch of different ideas. I didn't get much out of it because, again, there's not much. It doesn't get into the meat or the fun times of any of these ideas provide. Maybe if you're looking at this collection as a writer, it'll give you some bits of inspiration, but as a pure reader, I don't think you'll get much out of this one, so it's gonna fall off my list. Alright, next is a short Harry Hermione one-shot called Best Mates by Chem Prof, and it's just a short story that takes place around the Harry's 6th year, where Hermione decides to prove that she's really Harry's best friend, and basically goes down a checklist that Ron gives her of what best friends do. It's a little funny just seeing, because the main bulk of the story is told Harry recounting the previous night where Hermione does all the stuff with him to Ron, and seeing Ron's reaction as the night's events progress is a bit funny. But it's not really something you need to read more than once. It's wholesome and fine enough, but again, it's just not something super spectacular. But it is fun. Give it a look and enjoy it, but it's not going to stay on my list. After that, we have another Harry Hermione one-shot. This one called Gamp's Finest Blend of Pretend by Canoncansodoff. So this is this one, like I said, it's another Harry Hermione one shot that takes place around 5th or 6th year, and this one is basically just Hermione trying to find a place that Harry can relax and act like a normal teenager, and and I like this a lot, and this is actually one that I feel I can come back to. Big difference between this and the previous one. The tone, it helps a lot. The previous one is basically a joke. It's basically a small joke that's told, and it's not super entertaining or fun. It's not like super amazing that you can repeat it over and over, but it's a perfectly fine joke. This one is more just like has like a light and relaxed feel to it, and it's more akin to like a small bit of fluff with some humor in there. And it's more like, you know, just like a weird first date. And it's just like has the feel of like a lazy afternoon. Even though there's not like, it's not super substantial, or like, oh, they just make their relationship and become, you know, they marry each other on the spot or something like that. It's just a nice like date, and for some reason this one really just felt enjoyable to me, you know. And hey, it's about people having a date in a small space, and that's like single room, so hey, it kind of fits the times. Have a bit of fun with your quarantine. But yeah, this one I feel is really fun, and it's gonna stay on my list. Going on next, we have New Friends and Second Chances by Cloud5815. And this is a Persona 3 and Persona 4 crossover. I mean, it's not really a crossover because the Persona game 3 and 4 at least take place in the same universe. So it's Persona 4, the plot, but Minato's back. And with him comes a whole bunch of extra subplots. The story's incomplete, which brings me the complaint I've said time and time again, where, you know, the story stops before things really kick off and things get interesting, which is kind of odd to say because it does get past like one or two bosses. The story ends up like right as they're about to enter Kanji's bathhouse. So it's a bit there, but the more interesting plot is the subplot, where, you know, with Minato and connecting with the former SEAS members and stuff like that, and the new investigation team trying to find out Minato's deal, and, you know, them intersecting, and that never gets anywhere. You know, it doesn't get moving. You just get hints of, hey, this is going to be a spicy plot later, and, you know, as such, the story is just setting up things that never pay off, and it just leaves you, it just feels limp and leaves you unsatisfied. So it's gonna fall off my list. Next is a Ranma fic. This one called The Pit by Kirinin. And this is a bit of an odd story that's broken down into two parts. First part is when an older Ryoga shows up and saves Ranma from the cat pit during the Nekoken training. So this is like a Ryoga who's like probably like 20 years old-ish or something, so post-canon, and then he shows up and saves a 5-year-old Ranma, and then basically kind of like adopts him, takes him to the Amazons, and is like teaching him. And then through some mishap, they both end up now at canon Ranma's time at around I'm not sure exactly when this occurs, but like in the middle of like stuff happening, like a bit of the craziness has already started, and that's where part 2 takes place. So this main story is not, there are a couple fights in there, but that's not the important bits. The important bits are the emotions of the characters. Like Ranma in particular, both versions of Ranma here are deeply like emotionally connected through these things, and how they deal and come up with the relationships. It starts off like really simple and lighthearted and like kind of just cute, and then it gets its gut punches near the end, and it really got me going. Like, I mean, granted, I'll admit it, I'm an easy mark for sad stories. Like, I cry I've cried at a lot of these stories that I've read over the times, and some of them, like, regardless of how many times I read it, it still cries. And this is one of them that got me going near the end. It's a lot less, like I said, there's not there's a couple fights there, but they're not super important, which makes it a bit of a difference from most Ranma fics, which are all about like action or like fighting in some way. And I think that gives it a super nice charm of its own, as well as just the emotional beats hitting so well. I like this story a lot, and it's gonna stay on my list, and I recommend it if you want to see Ranma fic where it's more about dealing with Naruto's oh my god, a Ranma fic dealing with Ranma's emotional issues with his father. I feel like it's good, really good. I said Naruto there. I'm so sorry. I swear, there's so many Naruto fics here that just Naruto. Like when I think of a protagonist at this point, Naruto is the standard one that comes out of my mouth. Oh my god. All right. Next is more Harry Potter, more Harry, with Dobby's Return by Hahukam Kon. And this is a time travel fic where Dobby is the one that time travels. You know, he gets sent back from when he dies in the 7th book, back to the second book, right before he was gonna talk to Harry. And this fic is just events. It's stuff happening one after the other, with not much emotional investment or like dives into creating an emotional connection between the reader and the story. It can work in some occasions. Like there's a lot of like one shots, like single chapter stories that I've read that are also just stuff happening, but those things usually span a lot longer and move a lot faster, and usually the thing that makes them interesting is the bit of humor, like super oddness of the situation that comes in. This one, however, just moves really slowly, and it's just too long to be like an interesting recap of, oh hey, this changed and then Dobby did this and went crazy and stuff like that. That's a problem. The other problem is, like I said, the other ones that make it interesting is that usually it's humorous. This one is not. It goes for a pretty straightforward tone, and like I said, there's no humor really to be had. There's no emotional connections or bonds made with the characters that make you feel interesting, and the fact that it's unfinished makes this a pretty easy story to skip. So it's not going to stay on my list. And finally, for this one, we have another Harry Potter fic. This one, another one-shot, called It's Not Easy Being Vila by Lineape. And this is, like I said, it's a one-shot. This doesn't take place over a long period of time. This takes place basically over the course of this mainly just focuses on a couple days. And it is just really funny, where Harry, it's just a fun bit of stupidity around Harry being a male Vila, and it's a really simple joke. I don't think other people would read this multiple times, but like I said, I've always had shit taste, like dumb taste in humor, and can laugh at same stuff multiple times a lot. So yeah, I'll probably come back and laugh at this again. I just found it to be really entertaining, a really entertaining situation, and it's going to stay on my list. So there we go. That's it for this video. If you want to read any of those stories, links are in the description below, as well as a link to my fanfiction.net profile, so you can see all the favorites that I have not that I've had read through and haven't cut, as well as the ones that are still yet to come in these videos. Please give them a look. If you want to read this, I post all these stories, all these reviews in a text format on a forum that I have linked in the description as well. Please leave a like if you like this video, comment if you think I'm an idiot, and subscribe if you want to keep up to date when I post these multiple times. So thank you so much for watching, and again, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.